Mindfulness for Resilience with Mary-Jo Fetterly, funded by the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation and brought to you by SCI&U for Healthy Living.
We are really utilizing our awareness to strive to see what the sensory body is telling us. And we may not always be doing that consciously. So we're doing it perhaps, as part of recognizing that we have to pay attention to, the stimulus from our nerve pain or the stimulus from autonomic dysreflexia. And we've learned to respond to that in ways that help ameliorate that particular stimuli. And so the very same awareness is going to be brought into our emotions and our feelings. And because every sensation, every thought, every feeling, everything that happens has a correlate physical sensation in the body and maybe a feeling state in our emotional body. And what we're really striving to do in mindfulness is to bring balance and patience to, first of all, the awareness that we are going to bring to those feeling states, and then loving kindness. And that's really key. That's the attitude. And as you may know, our days and actions, will differ tremendously depending on whether we're happy or sad, whether we're depressed or anxious, whether we're feeling fear or excitement. And our emotions are going to change pretty much, like our breath throughout the course of the day. It's going to move, from, one state to another, depending on what's coming at us, usually externally, but often what may be triggered internally. And so that's where we get into these places where a trigger, say, I have had PTSD for 3 years, and it was due to a caregiver incident. And one of my triggers is actually that person, or the fact that I need caregivers, which is pretty tricky. So there's a lot of triggers. And so I have to be really diligent at recognizing the trigger and, basically doing the intervention with patience and loving kindness of bringing awareness to that trigger, so that I don't go down that rabbit hole of that PTSD reaction to that trigger. And that's the training that we've been doing. And we started off doing it with the breath and with the, relaxing the body and becoming aware of our sensations in the body. And we started to dip in the last couple of weeks to becoming more aware of our emotions and that type of area. And it might get a little bit uncomfortable. Like, it's not always easy to look at our anger or to look at our fear or to be with our anxiety. And so what I want to make sure that you know is that what all of the experts in the field, Tara, Brock, and Jack, my teachers, describe is this zone of tolerance. And you want to be conscious of your zone of tolerance. So you may be able to recognize anxiety, but that may be enough. And you may then want to just stay on the banks of the river and hold that very steady and very calm and very stable presence that just notices, okay, there's a little bit of anxiety. Okay, I can see that anxiety might be associated with this feeling or this thought. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there and bring compassion and loving awareness to that. And then let it continue on as the river flows, and bring yourself back to your stable, balancing anchors, which are your breath and also the sensation of your body, of being here right now. In that moment, if it feels even, too uncomfortable, you could open your eyes and just remember where you are in space and bring yourself back then again to your practice. So that's how we work with these. And that's the very tip of the iceberg, and where we're going to go today. And it's not anything to be afraid of, because as we know, we have this incredible grace bank account, which you've been building, and which also is always yours, because there's always, no matter what, this place inside of you that you reside and that you can always go back to, that is you, that is this essence of yourself, that is not touched by these things. Um, and to that note, I'd just like to add, because I appreciate that sometimes these emotions or these places may be, hard to look at or whatever. Um, I want you to remember that tolerance zone. And I also want you to remember that part of what we will be doing is, in any situation, we need to recognize that the particular situation has a charge, maybe, or something, or whatever. But the actual charge is the situation and the behavior. It's not necessarily that person. They may have done something, and if it's associated with the person in this case. Um, but it's important to remember that part of what we want to be able to do is to forgive, and we can forgive people, but we don't need to accept behaviors that aren't great. And the same thing goes with any type of PTSD thing. So we can forgive ourselves for that reaction, and for going into fight or flight or developing anxiety due to, we might not even know what. We can forgive ourselves for having that anxiety, and but then we don't need to go into the story around the anxiety. So if that helps, I'll just leave you with that. So for today, let's take a moment and just allow ourselves to, first of all, come into our breath. That's a lot of talk about stuff. And we'll just give a bit of a shake to the hands. And as you shake, just notice where you are. Find yourself sitting. As you look about you in the room, notice the different colors and textures that are coming in through your visual field. And just breathe in with your eyes open. And take it all in, and just allow yourself to recognize, I am safe and I am here right now in this moment. And my body rests comfortably in my mindful position of graciousness, of dignity, and of discernment. Because really that's what mindfulness is giving us, is this great capacity for discernment. So breathe into that for a moment. Feeling your adult self really holding discernment, capacity, grace, and stability as part of your truth. And as you move into your stable, comfortable seat, allow yourself to bring into your body awareness and into your mind's awareness that beautiful, compassionate, loving eye as you close your own eyes and become stable with your breath. So allow yourself to tune into your breath and your body sensations. Bringing that kind, loving attention to what is right now, and just noticing how you feel. Noticing what you can tune into sensory wise, perhaps hearing the rain if you're in Vancouver. I'm not sure where you are, but noticing whatever you can hear, feel, taste, smell, and feel in your sensory body. Remembering that all of your sensations, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, they're neither good nor bad. So we're the riverbanks. We don't hold an opinion. We're just the observer. We're just holding the container of awareness around all of what is within us. and bringing your kind, beautiful attention to your breath and allowing yourself to take 3 full, rich breaths. Feeling like as you do so, you're, even with your noticing right now, you're building this wider range of capacity and discernment. Just feel that as you observe your body breathing, experiencing all things living within you as they move right now. And remembering to just use your breath and your body as your anchor, feeling your body upright somewhat without tension, alert, aware, and taking in all these sounds and getting comfortable with your breath moving, feeling that slight smile of appreciation, gratitude, and loving kindness. And then allow yourself now to notice what attitude exists right now. What's your attitude that you can notice right now? Is it boredom? Is it restless? Is it joyful? Is it content? Is it fearful? Is there a bit of anxiety there? Notice whatever you can about whatever you are able to discern with your awareness as the flavor of the moment. And just bringing your kind, loving attention to that. And really just noticing the play of that awareness with whatever you're noticing, the feeling. Listen with your inner sense of eye, ear, to maybe the, the voice that says this is this or that's that. And just gently with your awareness grounded in your anchor of your body and of your breath, continue to notice. And name it if you are able to. Oh, that's joy. Or oh, that's restless. Or oh, that's happy. Or oh, I notice this feeling of impatience. And whatever it is, just with the noticing eye, like those banks of the river, allowing yourself to notice that particular current, and then continue to notice it as it moves along to the next one. So you're bringing recognition to it, you're allowing for it, you're not resisting, you're just allowing space. And in that allowing, just allowing that beautiful awareness of yours that's alert and mindful to investigate. Oh, is there a sensation in my body? Do I go somewhere in my mind when I feel that particular feeling? Is there a correlated resistance, another feeling that comes when I feel that feeling? Just investigate with curiosity, with no particular direction or need to prove right or wrong, good or bad. And as always, bringing yourself back to your anchor of your breath of your kind attention and of your body present right now, where it is, the weight of it, the sensation that may be arising, the movement of life through you. And allow yourself to stay with your breath for a moment as we will transition to just imagining, as you're observing your breath, imagining a really great feeling that you had in the last week or last month or something. Maybe it was you saw your child, or you talked with your someone really close to you, and you just had this great conversation or this really super beautiful connected feeling. um, or you had a good laugh with someone, with a really good friend, uh, or you accomplished something that you really felt good about, that brought you a sense of efficacy of, yeah, wow, I did that. Whatever it is, just give yourself the pleasure and the opportunity to remember that really great place, this place of attunement and of fluidity and a good feeling. And similarly to all of our mindfulness, allow yourself to observe that. And don't get too pulled into anything, with any sort of opinion, but just really observing what that state feels like in your body. Maybe it feels good in your heart. Maybe you can feel your breath moving a little easier. And maybe you notice your belly just releasing and relaxing a little. And perhaps you feel when you feel that joyful state or that nice, good experience, you just feel this kind of feeling of relaxing the brain and the skull, and even releasing the brain a bit away from the skull as the eyes on the outer corners just upturn slightly and the forehead softens. And observing this beautiful state that you experienced with your kind, gentle attention, holding space for it, holding awareness and acceptance around it, and holding this investigative, curious place of, huh, I feel joy here in my body, or oh, my throat softens when I remember laughing. And then as the banks of the river observed that state, allow yourself now to take perhaps a more difficult emotion like anxiety or sadness or maybe grief, loneliness, something that you may have experienced, and witness that. You just remember your zone of tolerance, witness it with a kind, patient awareness, and just noticing as you bring that emotional state, that feeling state up. Where do you notice it? What do you notice? Is there thoughts that come kind of plunging in, cascading in, and just allow yourself to come back to your anchor if that happens. And we're just noticing with this kind, beautiful temperance of recognition, of investigating, of allowing, and then of nurturing, of just holding that state now with compassion, just like the banks of the river, or just like the grandparent would hold that little baby that's gotten upset because something dropped on the floor, or it heard someone screaming. Just contain that state for a minute with your kind, compassionate awareness. Just really even visualize, you've put that state into a container Maybe it's a beautiful little box or something, and just hold that state with your kindness, with your attention, in recognition, in compassion. And then returning back to the banks of the river and returning back to your alert awareness, perhaps one of your anchors, such as your breath, such as feeling into the sensory body in a very, very inside out way. So let's relax the inside of the shoulders with your breath. As you breathe in, feeling your breath fill your body, and just allowing your body to bring in some of that expansion, some of that neutrality, some of that balance of nature. And as you exhale, relax the inside of the shoulders downward. And as you continue to breathe, noticing your breath, notice the movement of your breath and the aliveness. This is you. This is here right now. We're back to our breath. And all of what we are is continuing to flow. And we can let all of what arises, just like the movement of water or the fluctuating waves on the surface of the ocean, just be those fluctuations. And we're still very deep in this place of just holding awareness and containing in kind, loving attention all that is, all that we are. And as we round into the last few moments of practice today, bringing your awareness back with your sensory ear, your attunement, your attention to sounds. And I don't know if you can hear way off in the distance in my room, I can hear the sound of a siren, which used to trigger me. And I think for a lot of people who've had physical trauma, that could be true. And just know I'm noticing it now just with awareness, with kind attention. There's no trigger. I'm noticing all the sounds as I invite you to do with just this beautiful awareness of attention. The dropping rain, the sound of my voice, perhaps even the sound of your own breath, breathing. And that is a really good barometer for being in the moment. And ideally, when you can hear your own breath, your breath has become louder than your mind, and you're very present. And the mind isn't taking you away out of this incredible place that we bring our humanity to, all of ourself. Well, as you're coming back, come back with that beautiful awareness of your little infant kind of child. I'm going to see if I can find this quote as you're coming back. I love Emerson, and he says, "The lover of nature is he who is in word and outward senses. Is he who's in word and outward senses still truly adjusted to each other, who can observe and who has retained the spirit of infancy, even into the era of adulthood, of gentle and kind attention and awe. So I'll put that quote up in the description box in the YouTube channel. I think Emerson really, he was very mindful, as a lot of poets are, and he brought this beautiful way of describing how nature is such an important teacher for us, and how, you know, the reflection and the awareness of Mother Nature and her incredible, you know, rhythms and balance um, is giving us metaphors for life, essentially. And so, anyway, I think a lot of his poetry takes that into an exalted kind of artistic expression. And I really appreciate reading poetry. And I don't know if any of you do so, but one of the things that I think had been part of the tradition in Zen and a lot of Buddhist life was these beautiful, you know, koans or Zen, you know, poems and little snippets that really capture your attention and bring yourself into an aware place. So I really encourage you to pick up poetry and use it if you know, are in the state where you can't find your center and you're not able to bring balance into some capacity or aspect of your day, or some emotion that's particularly difficult. Because sometimes just reading a good line from a poet, or allowing yourself to attune into that type of awareness, will help you bring a place of that awareness into your own being. And in the work that we do, that's called attunement. And attunement is really, you know, what we're doing with our breath. We're actually bringing this place of attunement to our two nervous systems, our fight or flight, our sympathetic system, and our parasympathetic system, and attuning them so that we're not in an extreme of one or the other, which either or could be, you know, I mean, if you need to be doing your work throughout your day, or you need to make a difficult conversation, and you want to be able to make that conversation without going into emotional reactivity, you don't want to be falling asleep. You want to be very aware. Thanks, Paul. But you also want to bring, you know, that discerning, very calm, stable presence to it. So I think mindfulness before something difficult is a good strategy. And perhaps, you know, more and more as we encounter this particular world situation that we're in, we're finding, you know, that people are being drawn to mindfulness practices a lot. And I think possibly that's why that we really are craving that discernment and that place of not feeling like the outside circumstances have totally, you know, got us by, you know, the BALLSs, and, you know, is squeezing tight. So any questions or comments? There's people saying goodbye. Thank you for coming and joining us. Today we did a bit of a longer practice, and part of that was setting us up for this piece as we move into kind of moving into working with difficult emotions or feeling states. Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions? Sometimes there can be questions, or sometimes we just want to kind of sit with that. And often I also really encourage you, if you have the time or the wherewithal or the capacity, to jot down a few notes of what you noticed. And remember that we're bringing, you know, these kind of awareness, recognition, investigation, and nurturing. Those are kind of the acronyms that Tara Brock brought forward to the mindfulness practice. And it actually, the acronym is RAIN. So we recognize, we acknowledge, and we investigate, and then we nurture. We bring kind, compassion to whatever it might be. Thanks,
It's
Kim.
me. I can say it. I really enjoyed the beginning part because we also learned something from you. And I really appreciate the poetry because it helps me visualize and take
Yeah,
attention away from whatever I'm thinking about.
great. Thank you for those comments. I really appreciate that. Just on an ending note, Jack was saying something the other day in class, and I think it's Chief Justice Palmer, who said that at the Supreme Court level, 90% of what they do is based on their feelings, and 10% is based on rationalizing those feelings. So make no mistake, we're all, kind of governed by our feelings. Our feelings are running our show, essentially. And if you don't really know that, then that's part of what mindfulness will help you to notice. And so when we become aware of those things that are running the show, it helps to give us more capacity for choice, and also for not being dictated by something that may not be the direction we may want to take ourselves in. So that's what we're going to leave you with today. And of course, always remember that you can go back into the archives on SCI&U study on the YouTube channel, become a subscriber. You'll get notifications, but you also can always go into the back end of that site. Well, not back end, but to the actual, when you subscribe, you click on the actual SCI&U study kind of icon, and that'll take you into all of the videos that we've done up to now. So there you have it. Really take good care of yourself, and the weather's changing. So be mindful that when the weather changes, especially our bodies, there's, a need to be sensitive to that. I will just say that, it's a good idea to start eating more grounding root vegetables like squashes and beets and carrots and things, rutabagas or turnips, because that really helps us to ground when the winds are blowing of change of the fall, which is moving us toward the winter. So stay warm in your heart, and stay happy, and I will see you next week. Be well.